What's going on, guys? It's heating up. Summer's just around the corner, only about a month away, and it's time for us to head down to the beach. The Astral Beach, that is. So let's head over there with this Ghoti Deck Profile. Alright, guys, let's get into this deck profile. First off, we're running 1 in knock. This guy's great if you have too many of your synchros in your banish. They're supposed to come back on your next standby phase. This guy is great to just grab them for more synchro plays when you can't get him out from that banished. Next, I run 2 a Zeep General level 4, good for getting up into those level 6 synchros. Then, of course, I run 2 Synopsis. Most people run this boy at 1, but I found 2 is way better for getting 1 out, or if 1 is stuck and banished, or 1 is stuck in the grave for whatever reason. Great to just have that backup, plus a 2100 beater is never something to scoff at. It can definitely help early game. Alright, next up we have the 3 boys who are the main powerhouse of this deck. We have Zeep. This guy's great because if he's banished on your opponent's turn, he comes right back. But the 2 real stars of this deck are going to be Paces, which I run at 2, and our Shift, which I also run at 2. These 2 are your main players. These guys, anytime they're banished, will always come back to you on the next standby phase. That means if they end up getting banished on your opponent's turn, they come back in your turn. If they end up getting banished on your turn, they come back in the opponent's. Paces is great for grabbing something like Synopsis here, summon him out, he'll immediately be banished. Looks great. Or just another leveled fish monster that isn't a tuner. It's just great to put on the field. And then Shift here, 1 can power up your heavy guys later game or early game, boost up any of your general fish monsters that don't even really need a power boost. He's already in the banish, comes back that next standby phase, and all 3 of these guys let you immediately synchro during the main phase as long as you meet those conditions of when they come back. Great, immediately synchro on your opponent's turn, and can even get into our big guys who can banish your entire opponent's field before they've even started anything. Okay, now let's get into our general fish support. I run 2 Minaraku. This guy is great because he immediately special summons himself anytime a fish, or I believe it's a fish monster, activates their effect. So if your opponent is running fish monsters as well, this guy can come out on their turn. That's unlikely, so this is just better when you use the comeback effect from the banished guys, or you're pulling off a combo during your turn. Next up, I of course run 3 Betunable Princess. This one is great for getting 1 already into the banish pile to level up your banished monsters, but she also helps with getting out someone like Paces, who then can switch out for another monster in your hand, or just for starting a string of combos. This one's really great. Alright, and then let's get into the general support. Alright, for general support cards, I run 2 D-Shifter. Great because it's an entirely banish-based deck, and if you can immediately start banishing all the stuff, or if your opponent wants to really just crush something, it's just going to get banished, or their things are going to get banished. General, great support card. And then we, of course, for our hand traps, one Ash and 1 Effect Veiler. General, good stuff. Alright, next up is our spells. I run 2, the most distant deepest depths. This one's great for just banishing something that's on your field that you just need banished for that next turn. Or you can choose to get one of your traps back for Ghoti if this one is in the graveyard and something gets banished. And then next up for this deck, I'm personally running 2 Scapegoat. This is great for defense if you don't have anything, if you just get a bad hand, but this is in there. Great defense lineup, plus can help with synchroing up into those higher synchros if you just have these in the field and you can get back your banished Ghoti monster for tuning. You can immediately go up into that synchro 6 if you have all 4. Next up, I run 2 Cosmic Cyclone, because cards in Banish Pile are great, plus you can just stop any of their face downs. Next up, I run 2 Moray of Avarice. This one's great because if you have something like Paces on the field from the effect of Betunable Princess, and that's kind of the end of your combo, but you need more in hand just in case, banish Paces, it will come back the next standby phase, and then Moray gets you 2 more cards. Next up, I run Contact with the Aquamirror. This is great for knowing what's coming at you on your opponent's side of the field because it lets you look at their face-down spell/trap cards. Or if you really are on a pinch and you need to know if you need to concede or not, This one's great for knowing what you're going to draw next. Alright, last one's up our general support stuff. We run one Called by the Grave, one Foolish Burial for that play with Shift, so 500 to one of ours, it's banished, and we're all good. Or you can send one of your other ones that just need to be in the grave so you can bring it right back. For something like Salvage. You would use Foolish Burial if you need to use Salvage to get them both back to hand. And then this is exactly what it does, as long as it's under 1500 attack. And then we run one Feather Duster for that back row, and we run one Gold Sarcophagus to banish any of the monsters that have great effects when banished. And we don't even have to follow the by second standby phase because these guys have their own effects that let them supersede that, and they'll just come back during that next standby phase. Alright, let's get into the traps. Alright, for our traps, we're going to be running 2 Ghoti Fury. We're going to be running 2 Ghoti Chain. Both of these are great for getting your monsters out of the way for effects, or if someone wants to target them for an effect while you're trying to pull off a combo. Either one of these. Ghoti Chain is great for dodging, but Ghoti Fury is great for popping one of theirs as well until the next standby phase. And hopefully by then you'll have already had a combo where that doesn't matter. And then lastly, I run only one Ghoti Cosmos, because this is good if you get it later in the game, but you really don't want it early game. It's just a dead card. So I only run it at the 1. Next up for our general support, I run 1 Token Stampede, because we do have those scapegoats in there. Because I do run those scapegoats, I'm actually thinking of changing those out for scapegoats, because that would be much better, because I believe they also have attack, and I can just summon them out in attack mode rather than waiting for them at defense if I get Token Stampede. And lastly, for time, and we just need to get something during our main phase off, or just during your opponents, and you're hoping that they just need to do something, and you really need that win. Secret Blast is damage for every card they control, and in this current meta, if they don't control anything on the field, you're definitely doing something really well where this isn't even needed. Alright, let's get into this extra deck. Alright, for this extra deck, I am running 2 of Ghoti of the Deep Beyond. This is your big heavy boss monster. It gains 500 attack for every banished monster on either banished pile, so for every monster banished in your opponent's and yours, this gains 500. If you're able to get 2 of these out, it's a pretty easy OTK. I was even able to pull that off most recently at my locals, so it's pretty good. Next up, 2 Askin. This guy, if he's ever banished, which you're probably going to end up doing, he can immediately come back, as long as you banish 1 in the graveyard, which gives you more power over in that banish pile. Sorry, I actually run this at 3, just found in the middle. Next up, we run Triple Arapathis. This guy is a great level 6, and then immediately we're probably going to just go up and Askin. But this guy is great because he's another 2100 beater, plus his effect is if he's synchro summoned, you get to send 1 level 6 or lower monster to your hand, which, depending on the situation, could either be your tuner or your synopsis, so pretty great. Then we run 2 Abyss Keeper and 1 Abyss Dweller. You already know what these do. Pretty great fish monsters that are also water, so they work pretty well with the deck. And then next up, we run a White Aura Whale, a White Aura Dolphin, a White Aura Bahamut, and these guys are just good effects in general. This guy lets me send everything and destroy it, just like our big boy over here does, except he doesn't come back during the next standby phase, but he's also an easier synchro, as he is a synchro 8 if we can't get up into that 10. And lastly, one that's come quite handy in a previous tournament is Hastor. Hastor is wonderful because you're supposed to be able to get this guy out. If you know they're going to be popping something, have him out of the field, or if you can willing to take that damage, get it destroyed, immediately equip it to opponent's monster, stop their effects, and it also can attack. So if they just want to go and get rid of that, even for synchro, link, anything, you immediately take control of their stuff via Hastor, and you have a pretty good card then. And this, when it's on your side of the field, doesn't negate the effect. So something like a Sword Soul, I've had great luck with that, where I still keep the effect of that Sword Soul, whereas most cards that let you take control, you don't have the effect of it. Alright, lastly, let's get into this side deck. Last but definitely not least, our side deck. I run one Necroface. This is great if you keep coming into situations where you get a bunch of things banished, but you can't really do anything with it. Side in Necroface, and it'll be able to recycle and pretty much restart your game for you, where you can just get all your stuff back, and then you can draw something. Or you can use it in a sense of getting a big powerhouse there, since the whole point of this deck is to banish, and then swing at him for a big heavy hitter. For these branded and fusion decks that are on the rise right now, we have non-fusionary, of course, and then I run one more scapegoat in case it's really needed, and that defense wall is just, it's a slower game and I need to do it. And then we run one spear. This guy's okay. It's very situational, but if you need something just to keep getting recycled out from that graveyard, this guy can bring him in. Hopefully you can go into that synchro play for other monsters, but he's really not something I would usually run unless you need to keep recycling that graveyard and can't do the banish so much. And then lastly, because we run Scapegoat, we have all 4 Scapegoat tokens. Alright guys, that's my Ghoti Deck Profile. If you enjoyed, hit the like on the video. If you have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments and I'll feel free to read them and see if I can answer any questions or see if I can improve this deck in any way. Hope you guys have a lovely day. Peace.